Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Our guest today is Trixy Castro. Buckle up, friends. This is going to be an incredible episode. Trixy, I know you're going to share so much value, but your story is incredibly inspiring. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here. I love what you're doing. The message, it really feels like a movement, and I love how you've been doing that. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm always honored to have guests like you. You have created incredible success for yourself, but it's not just about the external success. It's about who you are as a person. And as entrepreneurs, those who tend to listen to this particular podcast, there is a little bit of a different mindset right from the get-go. They tend to be a little bit more heart-centered, meaning it's not just all about the externals, right? It's about being a good person, making a positive difference in this world through their business, for themselves, for their family, to be a better version of themselves for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we can have really great intentions and we can be an incredible human being at our core and still be bumping up against a shit ton of mental imposed limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And we can know consciously that we shouldn't feel insecure, or we need to get out of our comfort zone, or that old story that we've been telling ourselves about how we're not worthy just simply is not true. We can know all those things on a conscious level, and they can still either completely block, stop, or stagnate our growth. Let's start by talking about your story. I want our listeners to have a little bit of a background on you and where you started and where you are today.
No, I would love that. And the only thing I can tell you is I'm living proof that you can change your trajectory of your life, and that mindset is everything. It's your true entrepreneurial story. There's a lot that comes with it, right? You end up falling down and having the battle wounds, if you will, to show for it. So hopefully you can show the next person, hey, I've been through it, try it this way, or it's going to be okay. But yeah, happy to do that. It's so exciting. I'm so blessed, right, to have had the opportunities and come across the people that I have. But I'm going to take you back. It started with a phone and a desk. That's really how it started, and an idea. I really realized that I wanted more, right? I wanted to do more. And that came from being exposed to something. I was 3 years old, okay, if you can imagine. And my parents both came to this country. So my sisters and I are first generation. My mom, the babysitter, called in sick, and she had this big job interview. And she was going to interview with this very wealthy family who, interestingly enough, made their money in finance and real estate. And so now she has to take me to the interview, and she's like, Trixy, you need to, be quiet, don't say anything, blah, blah, kind of all the things. And I go there and I said, okay, but can I wear a party dress, right? Like, that's what I wanted to know. Sure, I'm happy to go with you. And it was the most beautiful home I'd ever been to. And they were the nicest, loveliest couple. They had come here from Italy with like 50 cents in their pocket and had amassed great wealth as people, right? And with the things. And so I remember her going through the interview and doing this, right? Being a little bit nervous. It was the whole thing is in English. Her primary language is Spanish. She's got her kid there, right? Like all of the things that would stress any of us out. And I remember thinking, my mom really needs this job. This is going to be a lot of fun, and we get to live here. I didn't process as a 3-year-old that I'm now growing up in someone else's home, right? And so we go in, she does it, she crushes it, she does great, and she gets the job, and we're moving into their guest house. And I remember asking her, well, why do they live there and we live here? And I don't remember what age appropriate answer she gave me. I'm sure it was great. All I remember is this feeling of, no, I want that. I want to learn what they did to get that. And I remember asking them, how did you do? And they started a bank and they started in real estate and saying, can I come with you to the bank? And bringing my little Muppet Babies lunchbox, right? And wanting to just absorb everything I could. And I think that the fact that they took an interest in a child and saying, yes, you can, really resonated with me. And that led me to believe that, yes, I could. And so it was very natural to start my own company at 14 years old called Trixy's Tutor Time, because I made the cheerleading squad and I made the soccer team, and each sport was $1,000, right? And I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want to stress my parents out. It was, okay, let me figure out a way to earn it. Well, at 14, you need a worker's permit. You need someone to give you a ride, all the things. And so I thought, all right, well, let me figure it out. There was an elementary school across the street that my younger sisters attended. And I thought, okay, let me start a business. It's Trixy's Tutor Time. And I made my business cards of the old computer paper. We had to rip off the bubbles on the side. And I made them with magic markers. And I went across the street. And again, another person that was willing to take interest in a kid. I went to the principal. I explained to him, this is what I'm doing. He said, no problem. I'll introduce you to the teachers, right? Within 30 days, I was making more cash than both my parents combined. And it wasn't about the money, although that was great, because at 14, I just needed, a set amount. It was that I learned where there's a will, there's a way, that I had that win at 14 of yes, you can, right? And to figure out, all right, let me make my sweet spot the second and third graders, and then I can hire a sixth grader, and really learning kind of the mechanics and the basics of business. So then I thought, all right, well, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do all these great things, but let me learn banking, right? I remember the 3-year-old, right? That's how they did it. And so walked into a Wells Fargo bank and asked them for a job. Can I start doing anything, right? So they hired me as a teller. And truthfully, I think I was the worst teller on the planet, but I really enjoyed understanding the concepts. I understand the basics of banking, right? And really moved my way up and realized that I had 3 large types of depositors. I had the groups that were in real estate, that were gamblers, and that were in tech. So I thought, all right, well, really understand tech is, is very new. Gamblers not trying to count cards. So real estate it is. Let me follow the money, right? Let me understand what they're doing. And in those days, they were going to the courthouse steps with wads of cashier's checks, right? And hiring kids my age to go and pay for these foreclosed homes, right? And so I thought, gosh, there's got to be a better way to do this. Let me go ahead and figure out how we, right, can lend these groups money and be a debt provider. And that was truly how the idea and the concept of building a private money bank came. And that was the genesis of the company I created called Genesis. And that's what I did. So I set out to go build that and raise money, which was a challenge in and of itself, because, you have to start friends and family, or at least I did. And I was so young that I didn't have the track record, right? And I felt so many times like I had all the chips against me. Hi, my name is Trixy. Hi, I don't on paper look the part, but please trust me with hundreds of millions of dollars, because I promise I know what I'm doing, right? So I didn't let that slow me down. I thought, let me go be the best at this. Let me go figure out a way to align with the best groups that are doing real estate throughout the country. Let me know their business model as well as they do. Let me truly earn my stripes, a seat at the table, so that someday I can come back and inspire others, right? So that's exactly what I did, and started raising money in old school, right? My first employee was 14 years old. She was working for a prom dress. And I'm like, wait. Why are you going to the prom? Who's the boy? Where's your mom? What's happening, right? So all of these amazing people, right, that we just worked through and learned so many great things, and, started little by little and had investors and really realized that I needed to put a fund together and structured it that way. And then later created an online auction company called Genesis Auctions. It then became Hudson and Marshall. So on one side of the house, I'm disposing of the real estate and working with the banks and servicers. On the other side, I'm lending money right to these different groups throughout the country. Started small, took it national, got Oak Tree Capital to invest. They were the first to invest in this space and into us, and first 250 million in equity, and then growing it from there. To make a long story short, after many, many years of blood, sweat, and tears, had the good fortune to sell the auction company to Fidelity, and 9 months later closed on the sale of Genesis to Goldman Sachs. which was incredible. And that's a whole nother podcast for another day, right? But lived the battle wounds and lived all of the things that come with building companies and then monetizing them and building teams, and then what life looks like after, and then how you structure, right? Because you've got this insatiable drive to do something and to build something. And nobody tells you about the, okay, yeah, but now you're going to have non-competes, and now you don't pass go, you don't collect $200, right? And so being able to really understand, hey, this is what the goal is, and I'm working backwards. In everything that gets in my way, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to analyze it, I'm going to take what I need to learn from it, because sometimes there's some truths to it. Forget the delivery and the person, because sometimes people's halos are a little bit tilted. But I'm going to take what I can from it, and I'm going to be better, right? And I'm not going to let that slow me down, because let me tell you, if I had let people's opinions and views, and in good faith, I'm sure oftentimes trying to be helpful, it usually was about them or about their own fear, right? And I was like, dude, that you're not paying my bills, right? So let me realize that it's all up here. So I have a choice. People can say whatever, they can think whatever, but I have a choice if I'm going to buy into that and I'm going to let it impact me. So I made the choice very early on to say, you know what? I'm going to take the good of everything. It's not that I'm being Pollyanna and looking at the world with rose-colored glasses. Trust me, that's not what it is at all. It's that I'm looking at it and deciding what I'm going to allow to impact me, because I am the business, right? Every person listening to your podcast, they are the business. They're the entrepreneur. And so many times we take in the noise, we let it affect us, or a little piece of us, right? Because we have our moments of self-doubt. We have our moments of feeling overwhelmed. That's all part of it. That's normal. It's what you do with that, right? And I realized, okay, the challenges I'm having, all right, if I'm having them, others are too. So how can we solve for that and turn it into a revenue stream? Or how can we solve for it and turn it into a business? And that just stuck. But it all started up here, right? It was going back to that childlike mentality of, yes, I can, right? And like, there's no stopping you because you really want it, and really organizing yourself, right? To be able to say, okay, here's the goal. I'm going to work backwards. These are the things that need to take place, but keeping your eye on the prize and on what you're trying to accomplish really helps you weather the storms, right? Because whether you've got storms coming from employees or growth or scaling or whatever point you are in your business, there's going to be challenges, and really learning from them and setting yourself to be able to get in front of them at times, right? Or deal with them. It really makes all the difference, because we take it, we internalize it, right? These are our babies. Our companies are so meaningful that we take it personal when there's outside chatter that perhaps doesn't know, right? So I really learned to really look at it and say, okay, let me consider the source. Let me consider, like, what is really the underlying issue, right? Or what is the concern? Or is there, something that I could be learning from this situation without allowing it to affect me, right? Because the minute you allow it to affect you adversely, that's where you trip yourself up. And, and I mean, I can't even tell you how many times I walked into a room and they were like, oh, can you serve us water? Sure. I'll get you water, coffee, tea, whatever. But I'm here to actually meet with you, right? I have a deal to talk to you about. And I learned so quickly that none of that mattered. It was, how am I going to convey this message? How am I going to do the best possible job and convey that to whomever is on the other side of the table, irrespective of if I looked like them or not, or if I was what they were expecting or not. And oftentimes you get stuck there. And so I learned, listen, sometimes you don't get let in through the front door, so you go in through the window and you just figure it out. You just keep going. So that is truly the story in a nutshell of just mindset, perseverance, and being able to tap into that resilient side of yourself, right? And really understanding, I am the business and I'm going to have challenges. Everybody has challenges. And how do we improve upon that?
I think people may need to re-listen to this because there are so many nuggets in there. You touched on some of the core fundamental mindsets that are absolutely critical to be successful in any endeavor, life or business. Now, for someone who is listening, who is thinking to themselves, I want to up level, they may not necessarily know what the next logical step is.
Mhm.
From a mindset perspective, because I know that, and we didn't get into this yet, but I know that you're currently helping quite a few entrepreneurs. And so you're probably seeing this. It's sort of a coaching mentoring role, I'm sure that you've stepped into with a lot of these business owners that you're assisting. What type of guidance, and this might just be like a gut instinct how to respond to this, because everybody's at a different place in their life and in their business, but what guidance would you give to someone who knows they want more for themselves, but maybe they don't have the full spectrum, maybe they don't fully have clarity yet?
Mhm.
What are kind of like the foundational pieces that you would recommend for anyone who's really truly committed to upping their game internally and externally in their business?
Absolutely. So I think my dad used to tell me as a kid growing up, he'd say, Trixie, your friends are half of who you are. And I don't think I fully captured it, right, at that age. I capture it now. And what I mean by that is surround yourself by those that are going in the same direction you are. Tap into your resources, create your own tribe. Oftentimes we don't know. I didn't know. I had a lack of everything, right? Let's start with exposure. There was, who did I know that was in business, right? We were just trying to put food on the table. And so it was okay, that was great. But how do I now create an environment where I'm the person taking notes, where I'm learning, right? And that's what I tell people all the time. As an entrepreneur, your business is going to continue to evolve, right? And we, as the business, need to evolve and grow and put ourselves in situations where we create our own access and exposure. Meaning, take a look at who your people are, right? Who are your friends? Who are you talking to about these things? What are they doing to improve upon their business? And suddenly you start to think of the world a little bit different, because what I discovered was oftentimes we tend to go to what we know and what we're comfortable and familiar with, right? So we're with like-minded, and that's great. But good business practices are across all businesses, right? So tapping into others, right? Whether it's your resources, whether it's your attorneys, whether it's your whomever, right? That they're looking at the world through their lens really helped me grow to understand how I could fine tune what I was doing. But don't be afraid to get out there and talk. A lot of times we limit ourselves by just asking, right? And it was like, hey, listen, can I take you to coffee? Can I just pick your brain? I'm having a challenge here, or I'm really trying to figure out what my next step needs to be and what it can look like in this economic climate, or whatever the situation is. Most business owners are happy to talk to you about it. Most business people are happy to pay it forward, like that principal did for me, right? They're happy to say, absolutely, hey, I've been through it, consider this. So look at your people, establish your own network and tribe, right? Really trying to get out there. And yes, there's a way to market yourself and to do all of these things, but also there's people that you naturally can gravitate towards that, you know, okay, they're experts in A, B, and C. So let me run these ideas by them, but don't be afraid or limit yourself from asking these questions and talking to them about it, just like we would where we went to dinner the night before, right? Or what, you know, all of the things that oftentimes we kind of feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. Stop with the maybe I shouldn't. And yeah, let me ask, let me talk, let me see how they've done it. And I think a lot of times tapping into your resources and establishing for yourself an opportunity for growth is everything. There's oftentimes where I'm at dinner and I have these like little moleskin, you know, the little notebooks. I don't have one here to show you, but you know what I'm talking about. And I pull it out of my purse. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I take notes? Right? Because for me as a person, something about the process of writing it down, I don't forget as easily. But I love that feeling of learning, right? So I always tell people, if you're not learning and you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room, right? Find a new room and go and learn, because there's so much wisdom to be gained from others that have done it. But just remember to tune out the noise, right? Because a lot of times people make it about themselves. their experiences, right? And just tap into that piece for yourself. But remember, a lot of times they're coming from a position of fear. They want to make sure that you don't fail. They want to make sure you don't go through what they did. So just like being able to discern what's the right thing for you, right, in that moment and what you're looking for. The second thing I would say is write down your goals, right? Write down what your vision is. Like it might seem, like, oh, I don't have time to do that. Well, I believe, and I'm a firm believer, write it down. Look at what you're trying to accomplish and have a plan. Of course, you modify the plan. Of course, the plan evolves. It's not like when I started my company, I thought, gee, I'm going to be funding $2.5 billion of loans. Of course not. I was happy to just get $100,000 loan that I was funding, right? But as you grow and as you evolve and as you learn, right, your vision evolves and learns and grows. And so the more you can talk about it and the more you're comfortable with it, right, the more you can go back and execute on it.
Awesome. So right now, I'm sure people are thinking, okay, this woman knows her shit. You've obviously accomplished some incredible things. Now, I know you're in a transitionary phase professionally, but I'm curious, and perhaps if people start to follow you, they can see the evolution and what you're going to put out next. But what are in your heart, what are your desires? What are your goals to help other entrepreneurs? What is your vision? I know that there's some stuff that you've got sort of brewing, and this question is really putting you on the spot. But I'm so curious. I'm so curious. Like, I know you're giving back in a lot of ways. What is your desire? What's your next level calling?
So it's a passion. It's truly a passion. I built these companies literally with nothing, right from the ground up. And at times where other women at my age were having children, these were my babies, right? My team, it was the family that you put together. That always served a purpose, right, for me, for a greater good. I wanted to be a role model. I wanted to be a thought partner for people, right? I wanted to learn enough that I could create a seat at the table for others that didn't fit the mold. Because it's not like I was blind. I knew, hey, listen, on paper, I'm not what you're expecting. Okay, 100%, because you know what? Other people might feel the same way, but let me be that story that is the triumph of the spirit that yes, you can put it together. You can get in that room. You can earn yourself a seat at the table, right? And you can use it to inspire others. So everything I've always done is to be able to do that, right? So I sit here now and I love it. I love being able to work with entrepreneurs. I hope to be able to be a thought partner for them, a sounding board, right? Being able to say, hey, I've been through that. I understand. You might want to look at it this way or frame it that way. And like, I get so much joy for their success because these are their passions, right? For me, it's finance and real estate related things I build and I love it and it's great. And that's my thing. But I love investing with other entrepreneurs. I love building them up. I love sharing with them, but it is scary, right? I've always been behind the scenes building things, never frontward facing. And there's a little bit of like comfort in that, right? Because you don't have to deal with the public eye. You're just doing your thing, head down, just doing what you got to do. And now I realize it's a new world. I've got to get out there and be on social media, and which is new. I think I've got like a whopping 10 posts and I've got to like, kind of get with the times, and that can be scary, right? And that can be, it's new and it's different. And what the purpose of that is to be able to show others, hey, I'm doing it too. It's not just this like, hey, I'm telling you about how it was when I started it and I'm telling you about the finish line. No, I'm living it. I'm growing things today. I'm putting things down, building things. And sometimes it's hard. And sometimes you have your moments where you want to pull your hair out. And what is it like to balance with, 2 little kids? I have 2 sons under the age of 7, right? And so all of these things that no one talks about. right? That I want to be able to just be there to inspire and just be a point of reference, right? Somebody that people can look to and say, okay, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And these are some of the tools that she used. I'm kind of unlocking that success and how we can work towards that.
So this is the perfect opportunity for me to ask how our listeners can connect with you.
Well, like I said, I'm new to it, but I do have a website, trixycastro.com. I kept it simple. And I'm just getting into the whole social media thing. So, I will definitely keep everyone posted on what I'm doing, what some of these businesses that we're working together with are doing. And it's a really exciting time. And I don't know what's going to come of it, but I hope to be able to bring some sort of impact.
We may have to have you back on in like a year and get an update, because I have a feeling it'll be an interesting, exciting story that you'll be able to share. The journey from where you are today to where you are in a year, I know is going to be explosive and amazing in all sorts of good ways. I love what you're doing. I love what you represent. I love who you are as a person. And I'm so grateful that you were able to share your story with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Would love to come back anytime and really appreciate the support.
And of course, to our listeners, you know we're doing this for you. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. We've got so many incredible people like Trixy who are here to motivate, inspire, share valuable tips and strategies. So make sure you subscribe and tune in for the next episode.